From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome to Capitol View. I'm Drew Petrimo. Thank you for being with us. Republicans go at it. Down Thursday's GOP presidential debate, plus latest over the fight over non-discrimination ordinances from the sponsor of the original Religious Freedom Bill. And on the subject of religious freedom, a group wants to put this satanic statue on the Capitol grounds. We'll get into that and more. But we begin with a debate. Joining us to break it down are Terry Benham with Impact Management and Skip Rutherford, Dean of the Clinton School of Public Service. This is a show about Arkansas politics. Let's start with the Arkansas guy. Mike Huckabee had some memorable moments in the debate. We'll take a listen and then have you guys react on the back half.
And this notion that we just continue to ignore the personhood of the individual is a violation of that unborn child's 5th and 14th Amendment rights for due process and equal protection under the law. The military is not a social experiment. The purpose of the military is kill people and break things. Fair tax transforms the process by which we fund Social Security and Medicare, because the money paid at consumption is paid by everybody, including illegals, prostitutes, pimps, drug dealers, all the people that are freeloading off the system now. That's why it ought to be a transformed system.
All right. Skip, I was watching a lot of the kind of post-game coverage. Reaction seemed to be pretty favorable to him. What did you think?
Well, Mike Huckabee's a great speaker. He's a great communicator, and he's the master at one-lines. I thought some of them good. I think he didn't break out in this debate. He did not pass to the top 4 or 5. He hurt himself, but it wasn't a premier showing like others did.
Terry, it's a tough. You're in such a big pool, and it's not just the people on stage you're with, it's a whole group. When you have your opportunity, it's almost go. Do you think he was effective in that sense?
Well, I think he had a good night. The main reason is because he made some strategic choices about some of his answers, and he went after specifically the voter bases that he needs to firm up, so to speak. The first question they ask about, was he mainstream enough? And he made the strategic choice to stay on the social issues and make sure that his first answer out of the gate firmed up that base. It was a strategic choice, but given the fact that we're talking about the Republican primary, I think it was a good one.
I think the mountain is getting, it's pretty steep for him because he's got some very, very strong competition, 16 other candidates. And it's not going to be easy to win Iowa this time, particularly with Walker and others in the field that are nearby and neighborly. So it's a tougher climb for him, but I wouldn't underestimate him.
He talked, one of the big lines that he had when he talked about tax, the prostitutes and the drug dealers. He's a flat consumption tax. You deal a lot with kind of the insiders and the businessmen, how they interact. I mean, when they hear that, what do they?
Well, that was about the only moment I thought he came close to getting a little bit off track. But, he finished about as strong as you can finish, especially his closing argument when he came in and he started laying out these descriptions, and everyone in the audience, including myself, thought he was talking about Donald Trump, and when actually he said, Hillary Clinton. And so it was a real strong close, and I thought he did well.
Speaking of Trump, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about him, and I think that we can listen to some of what he had to say during the debate.
Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump. So, Mr. Trump.
What's wrong? I mean, This is what's wrong. He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already,
Dr. Paul.
Hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton or maybe runs as an independent.
Okay.
But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money.
I don't know whether to think that he did good or he did bad, and I've read, commentary to both sides. What do you make, starting with Terry, about Donald Trump's campaign at this point? And, the statisticians and the experts say it's not going to go forward, but then he keeps on doing well in the polls.
Well, he missed a big opportunity last night. Most of the people that know anything about Donald Trump as a politician, as a political candidate, know the one-liners and the things that they see on the evening news, but they don't have a whole lot of opportunity to see a lot of substance from him. And so last night was the first time that he really was the show. Let's be honest, there's a lot of people that tuned into the debate last night to watch him. And he had an opportunity to kind of lay out why he would be a president. And he missed terribly. He came across negative, he came across angry, he came across aloof from the issues, especially things like national security. And I think he had a terrible night. And those that say he had a good night, I wonder what debate they were watching.
Now, I watched the debate with Skip and some of his graduates from the Clinton School. There was a lot of laughs when he spoke, but I wonder, you know, he didn't get high on the poll that you guys did after. What did you make of his night?
Well, he finished fourth. The alumni ranked him fourth behind Bush, Christie, and Kasich. So he didn't do bad. Well, I would sort of disagree with my friend Terry here, only because Trump got out of that debate exactly what he needed to, and that is without any significant harm. Because if you take the words of the late political consultant Jerry Russell, who I loved and admired, and not always agreed with, by the way, but I admired him. You know, his basic theory was just spell my name right. And if you read the morning papers and if you read the headlines, the name that's out there is Trump. Now, most people are not going to go into the details of the article. So I think when everybody thought Trump was gone when he attacked McCain, everybody thought today, you know, last night thought that, you know, some of his one-liners worked great and that he wasn't substantive enough. I think Trump was Trump. And I think that's what America tuned in to see. Part of the people watching that last night, Drew, were for pure entertainment. Let's just be honest about that. People were entertained, and Trump entertained them.
Okay, we gotta wrap up here, but quickly, the winner. Who do you think gained the most, and not just did the best, but in the best position, gained the most from last night? Skip.
Well, in the debate, I thought that that Jeb Bush did what he had to do. I think he and Kasich came across as the adults in the crowd, as the responsible adults. I thought they did very well. I thought Christie held his own and did well too. I thought Rubio really came out of the pack. I think if there was someone that emerged that has a lot of potential, I thought Rubio had a very good debate. And again, I didn't think Trump was as bad. The real winner of the debate last night, the person who led going into the debate, and the person who leads everybody after that debate is Hillary Clinton.
Terry, quickly.
Well, I think the winners of the Skip and I actually agree on Bush and Kasich. I think Bush had such a low bar that all he had to do was go in and not make mistakes and be the grown-up in the room. And I think he did that masterfully. John Kasich, who barely made the cut, I thought elevated himself last night. I think there was a lot of people that said, who is that guy? Because his answers were very good. He's got a really good record to run on. And I think people see him as a mainstream guy, a guy that can win in the general election.
We got to leave it there, but Terry Benham, Impact Management, and of course Skip Rutherford with the Clinton School. Thank you guys so much for being with us.
Thanks, Drew.
Coming up after a quick break, religious freedom, one of the biggest political issues in Arkansas this year. Bob Ballinger, the sponsor of one of the most controversial bills of the last session, joins us in the studio. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Like it's top the train. Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss during rough summer storms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Keep important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and air conditioning unit running no matter what happens.
Call Royal Windows Power System for your home. Get a free first maintenance agreement. Ask about interest-free financing. Make the call today about a power system to Royal Windows and More. 1-800-817-8409.
The gospel of Jesus Christ is the most encouraging message the world has ever known. Not only is it the most encouraging, it's the most powerful message because It is through the gospel of Jesus Christ you and I learn that we can have a personal relationship with the Lord.
We offer a full range of landscape services, from design to installation, from lighting to mosquito misting, from seasonal color to maintenance. The Good Earth Garden Center, much more than just plants.
For more info on this great Arkansas professional, go to arkansasmatters.com.
How do you connect with your customers while staying ahead of the digital revolution? Tactive Digital is the partner you can rely on to help navigate the ever-evolving digital marketing landscape. To schedule your free digital analysis, visit tactivedigital.com.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. Confusion statewide in the wake of this year's religious freedom debate and the non-discrimination ordinances passed following it. Joining us now to discuss is Republican State Representative Bob Ballinger. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on, Drew.
Let's set this up a little bit. You've asked for an Attorney General's opinion as to how these ordinances passed in certain cities and counties apply when you have Act 137, which is the Interstate Commerce Improvement Act. And basically what that act said is that you could not, cities and counties could not create new protected classes, and they could not protect classes that are already protected in state law. City Attorney Tom Carpenter kind of wrote the dissenting opinion on what you guys passed, saying that in fact the state already protects those groups, civil law, but in other law. One was pertaining to shelter for people that had been in domestic abuse situations and anti-bullying. I mean, is the bottom line here, were you guys not specific enough when you consider that bill to say which state law you were saying? Because he says those groups are protected and then these ordinances are fine.
Yeah, I would say that we were, and in fact I would even say that that he probably recognizes that, or else probably Little Rock would have an ordinance more similar to what they're trying to pass in Fayetteville, or more similar to what was passed in Eureka Springs. He did make that comment, but then he went back and passed an ordinance which is provided for under Act 137, which deals with the city's hiring and firing practices. So I think that if he did not believe that the law really allowed for it, he probably would have done something a little broader than what they did in Little Rock.
But if you just look at the letter of it, if the bill says the classes are already protected in state laws, and there are state laws protecting those classes.
Well, and if that were the case, that would be right. However, it's not, because what you have in the case of, we'll say, the bullying statute, you have in a code section dealing with K through 12 education, dealing with students in public schools that are protected from bullying based on their sexual orientation. Well, that is a class right there that is protected. You can't then superimpose that onto everybody who happens to pass into a certain jurisdiction. And so, I think that it's fairly elementary that you can't take a small class created by a very specific law and then expound that to cover everybody. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And I think you could do the same thing, and you've got a specific situation that deals with shelters. Okay. In shelters, that class may be protected, but you can't then superimpose that and say everybody who passes in a city or a county then is subject to that ordinance. I think it's fairly elementary, and it's kind of silly to make that argument, but we as attorneys, that's what we do, right? You try to make the argument for your side and do the best you can.
Just on its face value, though, why, in your opinion, is it not good for a city to say, we're not only going to do business with people that don't discriminate? Well, I mean, what's so wrong with it?
Well, let me kind of two things. One is, in practice, what was originally passed in Fayetteville, what they're trying to pass in Fayetteville, what was passed in Eureka Springs, inherent in the law itself, it is like a way overreach and a violation of people's rights, property rights, and religious freedoms that has no business being done in the state. However, this Act 137 doesn't even say that. What it says is that if there are some protections that need to be afforded to a group of people, then do it at the state level. That way it can be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. That way, if you're a business owner that has a business in Springdale and has a business in Fayetteville, you don't have to have a whole new set of hiring and firing practices because of differences in state law or in different ordinances. So if you make it at a statewide level, it'll make it where commerce can flow a little more easily, where business owners will have that certainty of what they have to do. So that's really the principle behind the act. And so I think that that's the better way to handle it. Is something as big as that ought to be handled at the state level.
When it comes to what private businesses should or should not be allowed to do, in your kind of Republican libertarian wing of the state party, what is your philosophy? I mean, should it be up to the business to say, you know, if you're black, I don't want to serve you, if you're from a different country? I mean, should something that be a decision rendered to businesses?
I think if we were in a perfect world where we didn't have that type of racial discrimination, it'd be nice if we could keep the state out of it altogether. However, it's been ruled through the Supreme Court that there is a compelling governmental interest in order to protect and prohibit discrimination, that businesses wouldn't be allowed to discriminate on the basis of race.
Got to leave it there. Representative Bob Bellinger, thank you so much for joining us. When we come back, should this statue be allowed on Arkansas State Capitol grounds? We'll discuss that in the context of the Ten Commandments Monument. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Looks like it's concept.
Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss during rough summer storms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and air conditioning unit running no matter what happens.
Call Royal Windows and More about a power system for your home. Get a free first-year maintenance agreement. Ask about interest-free financing. Make the call today about a power system to Royal Windows and More. 1-800-817-8409.
10-5, can you believe it? Touchdown!
Yes, it's a touchdown, all right. All over the carpet. It's a stain. It's time for the Boys in Blue. The Boys in Blue can clean your carpet, upholstery, tile and grout, even your hardwoods. You know, you should call the best in the business. Call the Boys in Blue.
The Boys in Blue.
Woo Pig.
For those who serve today and those who served before them. For those whose sacrifice will never end. The Gary Sinise Foundation shows its gratitude through entertainment, outreach, and life-changing support. We can never give enough, but we can always give a little more. Find out how you can donate at GarySineseFoundation.org.
Because 100% whole grain oats are incredibly good for you. Because they're heart healthy. Because they're good for kids and dads and everyone else in the family. Everything we do is because of what really matters most. The goodness of oats and the people we love.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. Joining us now, Republican State Senator Jason Rapert and Jerry Schulze of the Arkansas Society of Free Thinkers. Now, I want to put a picture up on the screen and talk a little bit about it here. It's a picture of Baphomet. That is a 9-foot tall monument that the Satanic Temple, so-called Satanic Temple group, has put up. Right now it's in Detroit, and they say they want to come to Arkansas. And the reason why they want to come to Arkansas is because of a bill that Senator Rapert had passed, sponsored and passed, that allows for a Ten Commandments monument on the Capitol grounds. I guess my question is, considering the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment that says the state cannot establish one religion over another, why should this group, Senator Rapert, not be allowed to have their monument as well on the Capitol grounds?
Well, thank you for having on your show. And actually, the Ten Commandments Monument Act only deals with the Ten Commandments as a historical foundation of law. Many would claim also a moral foundation of law in the country. As a matter of fact, in this country, if you go to the United States Supreme Court today, when you go to the Supreme Court, you're going to be faced on the east front of the Supreme Court with that beautiful marble etching of the Ten Commandments right there on the marble facade of the Supreme Court. Then when you enter the chamber of the United States Supreme Court, the two large doors that enter into the chamber, on the bottom of those doors are etched the Ten Commandments. When you look over above the head of the Supreme Court Justice in the United States Supreme Court, you will see a depiction of Moses with the Ten Commandments. The fact of the matter is that this country was definitely founded upon Judeo-Christian values. However, the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, have been part and parcel of that one of the first written codes of law in the history of the world. On our particular Capitol grounds, we have many different monuments, but we don't have a monument which specifically honors law, that lawgiver. But what we want to do is to honor the Ten Commandments. It's based on an exact depiction of the Ten Commandments monument, which, by the way, was judged by the Supreme Court to be fully constitutional in the state of Texas. In fact, when you look through the history of this country, you will see time and time again references from our founding fathers, but also depictions of the Ten Commandments in many public places. In fact, in 1999, a House bill in the United States Congress was put in place which actually specifically stated that you could display the Ten Commandments in public places.
Mr. Schulze, I mean, the senator is right. The Supreme Court did say in 2005 that Texas could keep the Ten Commandments up. What's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with it is you have to read Van Orden versus Perry. If you read that case, you see everything depends on the circumstances. And the circumstances there were in Texas, you had a state capitol ground with something like 30 or 40 different monuments and historical markers.
It was 17.
Well, no, it was 17, and there were 21. There were 17 historical markers and 21 monuments, or vice versa. I don't remember which. And this was
I want to be specific here.
Well, we can look at the case. I've got it. The interesting thing about it is this monument was donated by the Fraternal Order of Eagles. The state of Texas allowed this monument to be donated and placed on the state capitol grounds to honor the Eagles for work that they had done. For 40 years, nobody perceived it as being an establishment of religion, and there was a very simple reason. It was one of many monuments. The point that the United States Supreme Court decorations include pictures of the Ten Commandments and pictures of Moses is interesting. But there are also pictures of other historical lawgivers, including Muhammad. And it's important to realize the context is everything. The context of Act 1231 is that not the Order of Eagles, but the state of Arkansas has created a message, and the message is the Ten Commandments. The problem with that is the state of Arkansas can't select the Ten Commandments as its message, as its representation, unless it's willing to open itself to the representations of other religious traditions.
I wanted to go back to Senator real quick. You mentioned the Supreme Court case, but also Oklahoma's attempt to just have the Ten Commandments put up at their capital got struck down by that state Supreme Court. In Florida, they've had to allow other churches, satanic temples, to also be at nativity scenes. You know, so it kind of has gone both ways, and I think a lot of legal scholars think that it's not exactly clear how the Supreme Court would rule.
Well, the fact of the matter that for all that gentleman just stated here, the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court said that the Ten Commandments monument in Texas was perfectly legal. The fact of the matter is,
but nobody, I don't think anyone's arguing that, but can other people also share that space is what I'm asking, and why not?
If Mr. Schulze would like to get a bill together and run a bill in the state of Arkansas to put up a monument to Baphomet or whatever this satanic temple structure is, he is perfectly welcome to do so. I doubt that seriously the Arkansas legislature would pass the bill, but he's welcome to do so. That's the process. The bottom line is, if we were here today and I had asked to put a monument up to the Koran, I doubt very seriously that this gentleman would have any objections. Every time in this country, you have the free thinkers and others of their kind which will say that's perfect, okay, but it seems very interesting that the only time that they want to fight back is when the Christian religion or Christians want to say something. I specifically, in this particular bill, we stayed away from any religious context whatsoever. And so this is simply a statement, a secular statement, that this is one of the oldest recorded written codes of law in history, and we believe it should be displayed.
Let me stop you, Mr. Schulte, quickly. We're running out of time.
Okay.
One will give you a chance because we started with him.
He's absolutely wrong that I would not oppose a monument to Allah or Muhammad. I'd be
I'm
there
glad to hear
just as
that.
quick. I'm just as opposed to the representation of any religion unless you're prepared to represent all of them. Second.
But this isn't a religious monument, sir.
Okay, that's where we're going with. Second, if you're going to try to tell these people that the Ten Commandments, the first one of which, thou shalt have no other gods before me, is not a religious statement, you are not only offensive to those of us who don't accept that point of view, you're offensive to a lot of Christians. Many Christians believe that the Ten Commandments are religious, they are sacred in nature, they are not secular, and to pretend that they are some kind of secular statement, as you do in this bill, is offensive to many Christians.
I'm not pretending. Here's what I want to do for you. My last comment. This is the Christian life and character of the civil institutions of the United States. Have you ever seen this book?
I have not ever seen that book.
It was written by Benjamin Morris in 1864. Until you can come to me and refute any aspect of the historical record of the Christian life character of the nation and our fathers, and I urge you not to be filing any more frivolous lawsuits against the good people of the state of Arkansas.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll read that, and then we'll get you guys both back again to talk about this some more. Mr. Schulte, thank you so much, and Senator Raper for joining us.
Thank you.
We're back to wrap things up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Looks like it's concept.
Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss during rough summer storms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Keep important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and air conditioning unit running no matter what happens.
Call Royal Windows and More about a power system for your home. Get a free first-year maintenance agreement. Ask about interest-free financing. Make the call today about a power system to Royal Windows and More. 1-800-817-8409.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Well, that's it for today's show. We're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
The gospel of Jesus Christ is the most encouraging message the world's ever known. Not only is the most encouraging, it's the most powerful message, because it is through the gospel of Jesus Christ you and I learn that we can have a personal relationship with the Lord.
Football is back, and we have your ticket to the Hall of Fame game. Big Ben and the Steelers take on Teddy Bridgewater and the Vikings.